the new A-Team and the State Department. Hey, it's Susan. Welcome to tonight's episode of War Crimes Unit. Nice to see ya. Hey, don't forget to get a Damsel in Defense stun gun. 7.5 million volts. Could save your life one day. It saved mine. You can find one at the iSue's Home Shopping Mall on Facebook, and Damsel in Defense will ship it directly to you. Oh my gosh, the new A-Team and the State Department. This is part of the Save Adrian project. The Save Adrian project is a name that I had to come up with based on a number of missing kids. One of those kids is my little boy Adrian. And once I found out how big this situation was, meaning that it's occurred to other children, and I've met some of these other mothers personally, you know what, I have to keep doing something about this, because if someone doesn't put a stop to this somewhere on the planet, that, you know, there's going to be more kids are going to be subject to the same thing, and the Save Adrian project is going to keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, you know what, the case is so bad, and it's so mishandled by law enforcement and DA's office and by the Justice Department, including the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. I mean, literally, I had to come up with a marketing concept to try to get somebody to save the kids. So I just called it the Save Adrian Project. I mean, I don't know. Had to come up with something catchy. So Adrian is my son. All right. So, you know, back to the drawing board here, because, see, all right, I'm not an attorney, and this is really, really complicated. I mean, the complexity of this surrounds, you know, what I had already talked about in one of my other videos called Not Dead, Missing, Please Call Interpol. That's a 22-minute video. I'm not going to go into that again here. You would have to watch that to hear how challenging this case is. But here's the thing. I keep getting retaliated against in many, many different ways. And while at the same time, I don't have any updates on my son, or even his half-sister, God, anybody else. So I'm getting retaliated against, and then I don't have any updates. That I sit here and I think, okay, what the heck is going on? Besides the ongoing theory that I have of, will someone kill me before I can find the kids? Okay, so, well, that's what happens when you're supposed to be in the Federal Witness Protection Program and you're not. All right, so, you know what? It's like I just keep thinking, something's not right, something's not right. Why are things not moving quicker? Because what I had to do for a couple things, I kept getting retaliated against, and so therefore I had to literally run to law enforcement and ask for assistance, including U.S. Customs. Customs found me a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations, and like I found a deputy with the Marshal Service myself, literally by just faxing a letter up there to San Francisco, and the deputy got back to me. It's because a lot of things had occurred in his district. Guess what I think I found out from him responding to me? Apparently, nobody contacted the Marshal Service in that district. All kinds of things happened to my son up in Humboldt County, California. A whole bunch of legal crap, massive legal malpractice, and all kinds of horrible things, and, you know, judges giving supervised visitation to a guy that they considered to be a threat to national security, so, which would be my son's biological father, a whole scandal with the child support case and all that. So, you know what, I actually learned that up in Alaska. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, the police not contacting the Marshal Service, that's like a big no-no, you know, because, yeah, the Bethel PD told me that they contact the Marshals, you know, pretty much, you know, quite frequently, apparently, so on other cases. But anyway, so apparently that can be done, but this is such a disaster. So tonight, what I did is that, you know, I said, let me go back to the drawing board and do what I did, God, 10 years ago. Typed in child abduction to Iran, and it comes up with information from the State Department. And, you know, the State Department has actually expanded a lot of the a lot of their knowledge and links and made it very user-friendly in the event that you know of someone that has a missing child, especially if it's a foreign child abduction issue. They've made it very user-friendly for you to understand the steps. Now, I learned a lot of information from their website back in 2004, and I actually printed what I learned off and filed it initially with my son's custody case. The initial legal proceeding for my son's custody case up in Humboldt County, California, included a print-off from the State Department website on the seriousness of child abduction to Iran. It talked about Iran not being a party to the Hague Convention. It talked about the challenges that a left-behind parent, that would be me, would have if I tried to initiate legal proceedings in a country in which the United States doesn't have formal relations with, and so forth. And, they talk about the Swiss embassy and all that, but they have expanded their website and they've linked it so you can find out even more information on what to do. They've almost made it into like a how to do something, so that's very nice. Thank you, State Department, for doing that. So going back to the drawing board, I'm just reviewing all the information, and, they had a link about pressing charges. And, I was reviewing that, and, because one attorney named Garrett Sutton, now he's he's a business attorney, he doesn't handle anything else, but he knows that there was interference with business relations related to my son's case. So, he even said find a criminal law attorney and, press charges with either a DA's office or the DOJ. Now, in that situation was interference with business relations, but if that was a lead-in in a legal case, my son's issue could be trailed behind that. What was the interference? Well, it was the scandal with my son. But, so, it could actually be presented legally any way you want to do it. Pick an angle, but basically the motive for the interference is all based on a bunch of crap. So it's possible to press charges on this. And the State Department even said, they said, you can contact us, we can help. Even though I don't really like this one agent that initially got back to me after I contacted the Swiss embassy in Tehran, Iran, this Donna Wiss, she did say that they do work with other law enforcement. But so I just tried contacting the State Department again. And what I did is I gave them the list of what I call the new A-team, which is the people that I found within the United States that know the portions of this case, and then if it was put all together, could actually lead to a prosecution of the people that caused Adrian harm and the people that were responsible or negligent for not protecting Adrian from being outside of the country, not to mention all the civil rights violations and the human rights violations. So, but you know what, because of the complexity of this and the foreign affairs component, it made sense after reviewing this information that law enforcement might need help from the State Department. And the State Department even referenced on their website that, a lot of law enforcement are not, familiar with, these types of cases. This is not exactly something that happens every day, like a robbery, like a regular robbery, like a bank robbery or a car wreck or something like that, so this is something that even a police officer might only see like once in their whole career, so it makes perfect sense. So what I just did is I just emailed the State Department with the people that I found, including the police officer that took the missing persons report, the ICE agent, who in the Marshal Service knows this case, and then, then trailing into my son's child support issue. I don't want any of the money out of the child support case, but if any money was recovered in a legal prosecution, Adrian might need that overseas. And so that would also be helpful. So I contacted the State Department. Here's the list of the A-team, the new A-team. And then hopefully the State Department will just contact them and they'll send me a list of applicable laws and treaties. So then I can't find an attorney. I might be able to find a private attorney to help me press charges or to just, help me. But if I had the list of the laws from the State Department that said these are the federal laws and then these are the treaties, that any treaties that would apply, then I can read it all and I can put this whole thing together, at least preliminary for a private attorney, at least preliminary. I don't know all those USC codes and all of that, but at least preliminary I can kind of start off with that. So, I mean, extra special thanks to the State Department for making your website much clearer for people like me to use. So, we'll see. Let's just, cross your fingers that the State Department will just contact the new A-team and see if they can pitch in. Now, here's another thing I learned from the State Department's website tonight. Is that apparently, well, see, now I had this theory already, that the kids, my son and his half-sister at the very least, and probably all of them, would not be allowed to come back to the United States. Now, that's just common sense. That is common sense based on all of the horrible things that happened to my son. Like, I'm trying to imagine, like right now I'm in a foreign country, and I'm trying to imagine, let's just say Interpol came knocking on my door right now, and they said, "Hey, Suze, we found your son." I'd be like, "Oh, great." But here's the thing. I mean, anybody with any common sense would not take their child back to a country that has caused that child harm in civil and human rights violations. That's just common sense. I mean, the very fact that I go back to the United States is even crazy myself because of all the harm that's caused to me. I just don't have another way to earn a living right now overseas, so I have to, kind of... I mean, it's insanity that I do it. It's total insanity that I do it. But I have to sort of take the chance, go in and try to pull a nursing shift just to make enough money so I can live over me, so I can at least get to another country, live for a while, until I can get the iSuze home shopping mall profitable, which would allow me to not have to do that anymore. But anyway, so the kids can't come back to the United States. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, if I were to try to take my son back to the United States, I mean, let me tell you, the military, police, and Interpol, they would have me locked up in a damn prison, probably with a machine gun to my head. I mean, because that would be how criminal it would be for me to take a minor child back into a dangerous situation. Do you see? So I had already suspected that, but I actually read that tonight in a portion of the State Department's website that talked about some exceptions in different cases, talking about whether or not kids would be returned to a specific country, and that it did say that. It did say that. So that would be something that would apply. So. Unfortunately, to these kids' cases. So under international law, the only way that I understand that to be would be called, in the legal terms, a forced displacement. So despite the fact that the kids are United States citizens, they would have to be displaced. Forceful, whatever. Whatever. They were displaced forcefully to start with because they're outside of the country in a dangerous situation. Best of my understanding, it's a dangerous situation. So they're outside of the country anyway, so that's a forced displacement. But then, it could be considered a forced displacement the fact that they can't return either because of the violence that has already previously occurred within the United States. So this is a very, very complex and horrific case, and you know what, it totally makes sense as to why the State Department might need to intervene with these other law enforcement, at the very least under consult. So that is what I did tonight. So I just emailed the State Department the list of the new A-team. If you can send me anything about the treaties and any federal laws, maybe I can put something together. And then, hell, from that I got to do an assessment. I mean, I wish I was an attorney in the United States. I mean, because then I could put all this stuff together the right way, and I could press charges, and I could. It would be nice, actually, to have jurisprudence in the United States. What they call jurisprudence, or having a legal case with a judgment that could be used in comparison to another situation in the event that it would occur to another child. You see, it would be nice to have that because it might, first of all, especially with a lot of media attention, and even the State Department on their website recommended the media. With some media attention and, public awareness, well, they didn't actually say media, they said public awareness. I think that was the term, public awareness. But with public awareness, that could very well deter criminals from doing this same thing again. And the unique situation of the Save Adrian project, it would also probably prevent law enforcement and the legal system using kids within plea bargains. This is what some FBI agents have apparently done. So the story goes, making the situation more complicated. But it would be nice to have that. One attorney that claimed to be retired from the State Department that landed on one of my Royal Caribbean cruises about 4 or 5 years ago even took a look at this case when she saw my documents. She said, oh, you know what? Susan, I appreciate the work you're doing. Maybe someday they'll quit using kids as pawn. I mean, paraphrasing what she said, but, you know, would be nice. That would be nice. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If not, if we can't get an attorney to take the case, even with a State Department consult, like let's just say the State Department contacts the new A team that I found. And then either a DA's office or a U.S. attorney doesn't prosecute. Well, that would just, like, totally suck. But then, well, I guess, you know what? We're all going to end up going to the Netherlands. We're all going to end up going to the International Criminal Court. I mean, I don't know. You know, that would be the only other thing. I mean, the kids deserve justice somewhere on this planet. And not just my son, all the kids, even if the kids now are over 18. I mean, my son's only 10 right now. But other children have been subjected to this, sounds like for decades, going on in the United States. And so it's very likely that they are over the age of 18. Well, you know what? They deserve some kind of justice, too. And if the only people that can do that ends up being the ICC, well, you know, whatever. Whatever. But if we could get something done in the United States, and I'm going to fall this back on you, district attorneys and U.S. attorneys, it would certainly be helpful, because then we wouldn't have a massive foreign affairs issue with Hurricane Katrina going on, and this whole virus of these kids and these plea bargains and all these civil and human rights violations. I mean, look at the damage that this has caused. This is another thing that the American public really needs to see. There really needs to be a legal case, because the American people need to see the damage that has already been done, so they as communities, the United States community, can prevent this from happening to other children. So I'll let you know if I hear back from the State Department or anybody from the members of the new A team, and we'll go from there. But Suze goes back to the drawing board, what she did 10 years ago, and goes back to the State Department's website for advice. Tonight's episode of War Crimes Unit. Keep your stun gun or machine gun handy. There's real criminals and terrorists out there, not me and not the kids. I'll see you next time.